Throughout history, wrestling fans everywhere have had the pleasure of witnessing the moment a star was born.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
Brett made a very, very selfish decision. Brett's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. Brett screwed Brett. I have no sympathy whatsoever.
I did it for The Rock. I did it for the people. I did it. Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty.
But now, it's your turn to become the star. It's your turn to let your voice be heard.
I don't hate you, John. I don't even dislike you. I do like you. I like you a hell of a lot more than I like most people in the back. I hate this idea that you're the best. Because you're not. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
I'm the coward. Wait, let me tell you about a coward. Let me tell you about a guy who tells his WWE fans, the people that he loves, he will be back. He promises them. I promise you, I will be back in 1 year's time to claim this title. But you didn't, Daniel, did you?
RWT presents, for your listening pleasure, the RWT Promo Challenge.
Well, how are we doing out there, RWT family members? Welcome to the next RWT Promo Challenge. Now, we've only had one other one of these before. It was done by Teddy P. De Niro. I don't know if anybody was able to tune in and listen to that. But Ted P. De Niro cut a fantastic promo in which I believe he was a Pizza Hut pizza who was laying out a challenge for a Domino's pizza. Yes, that's an obscure concept, but nonetheless, it was hilarious. And if you missed out on that, shame on you. But since then, nobody else has the balls to step up and take the promo challenge. And there is one man who grew tired of this, and his name is Blackbane. And so Blackbane decided that he would be the next person to take the promo challenge. And who did he call out? Well, it looks like he called out Robert Davis. Now, what possible beef could Blackbane have with Robert Davis? Well, to find out the answer to that question, you're just going to have to tune in. So here it is. Blackbane's promo, calling out Mr. Robert Davis. Enjoy.
You know, I've got a real problem with you. You, Robert Davis. I mean, I saw the top 10 list, and you came in at number 2, like the loser that you are. Do you seriously think that you're ever going to be able to do what it takes to claim that top spot? I think not. In fact, I can guarantee you that if you even try to climb higher than the number 2 spot, I will be there to make sure that you fall further than anyone has ever fallen before. You see, Robert, I'm like a crab in a barrel. And when guys like you try to crawl up higher, it's my job to grab your leg and snatch you down. But you won't just drop to number 3. No. Not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not even 8, 9, or 10. By the time I'm finished with you, Robert Davis, you're gonna be off that list. In fact, you're gonna be on another list. A list of people who have disappeared, whose bodies were never found.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently Blackbane has got his eye on that top 10 list. And it seems like he's a little bit apprehensive about Robert Davis, who might be coming for that number 1 spot. We'll see what happens. Robert Davis, will he have the heart to respond to Blackbane? I don't know. Blackbane's a scary fellow. Does Robert have it in him? Will Robert be the next guy to take the promo challenge? Seems to me he has to give an answer. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, folks, it is now time for your regularly scheduled program. Please enjoy this episode of the RWT Podcast.
The following program contains scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the RWT Podcast.
Good morning, RWT family members. Of course, as always, I am your host, Emir Blackbane Costello, and I'd like to welcome you to the RWT Podcast. Man, it is a beautiful Saturday morning, 7 a.m. here in Southern California. And I am feeling refreshed after a long night of sleep, ready to get this show done. Today's guest is a man that I've had on before. In fact, he's the only person who I've ever done a 2-part episode of the RWT Podcast with, because the podcast that I did with him was amazing and probably one of my favorite shows that I've ever done. And his name is Brian Green. So we're going to bring Brian in a little bit. But first, let me just tell you guys that I really, really appreciate all the activity in the group. And we've had a lot of people who have been at it lately. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we had 140 members, something like that. And then there was this huge explosion. And in no time at all, we seem to have gone up to 2,279 members and climbing. So I really appreciate everybody telling a friend and inviting people that they know to the page. It's cool, man. And if you notice, if you're active in the group, people are posting all the time. We have people from all kinds of cities and countries, men, women, old, young. It's insane. RWT is reaching across all lines at this point, and I just want to let everybody know I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's keep making this group grow, because I don't know about you, but I'm having a lot of fun here, and I think any true wrestling fan who enjoys talking about wrestling is having fun here. We got a lot of great talkers in the group who know a lot about a lot. So thank you, everybody, for your contributions. And speaking of contributions, for all those who care and all those who are waiting, September 1st, I will be dropping a new RWT video. And that video will feature the top 10 contributors to the page. And I look at these numbers, and I'm watching them change and fluctuate back and forth and seeing, I don't know who I think is going to be on top. I'm not sure. One thing I do think is, after you heard that promo that Blackbane cut, I think Blackbane is certain that he doesn't want Robert Davis to be on the top of the top 10 contributors list. So we'll see if Robert has got the balls to respond and, maybe cut his own promo, letting Blackbane know what he thinks of all that hate that's going his way. But yeah, September 1st, the top 10 contributors list will be out. So for all those people who are always active on the page, posting and commenting and being super involved, it'll be a good chance for you to see where you land amongst the other people, the ranks of the RWT page. But anywho, I'm not going to bore you any further with my little intro here. I'm going to take a quick break and get Brian on the line and see what he has to talk about. Coming up next, guys, Brian Green, his second appearance on the RWT Podcast. I'm Emir Blackbane Costello, and I'll be back after this break.
2015. Download and play now. Free from the App Store.
Ready? Okay. N-O-M-E-R-C-Y. Slam them down and make them cry. No, no mercy. Show them no mercy. No, no mercy. Show them no mercy. Any questions?
Hello, just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up right now over on another YouTube channel on Raw Wrestling Talk. I'm doing my first ever podcast appearance, and it is wrestling related. Obviously it's called Raw Wrestling Talk, so make sure you click the link on the card on screen on the top right of your video, or the link in the description, and go over there and check it out. Leave a like, leave a comment, let him know that you've come from over here in our channel, and subscribe if you enjoy what they do over there. And don't forget to share with your friends if you think they will enjoy as well. See you over there.
To hear Mike Ibiza's first ever appearance on the RWT Podcast, click over to the RWT Facebook page. And if you're interested in all that WWE gaming, get over to youtube.com right now and go to WWE Biza. That's WWEBEZA, and subscribe to WWE Biza for the latest WWE games with Mike Ibiza. Welcome back to the RWT Podcast, and as promised, I have on the line my man, Mr. Brian Green. Brian, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Hey, my brother, I am okay. It is Sunday, it's a new day, I am alright. How are you, my man?
It's kind of funny, actually, that you would announce that it's Sunday, because the intro for the podcast I actually recorded yesterday, and I announced that it was Saturday.
Oh, well, different time zones, it's okay, it's still Saturday somewhere.
Exactly.
Sure.
That happens too. I recorded a show with a YouTube gamer named Mike Ibiza, who I've done quite a bit of work with lately, and he's in Manchester, England. And so when I record with him, we're always on 2 different days, which is hilarious.
Great. Oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of challenging.
Yeah.
I have a friend who lives in the Philippines, who, like, best friend, like, I always have a problem, like, connecting with him, because, like, we're waking up right now, I think he's going to bed, That's always kind of bizarre to think, what's going on nighttime over there right now. That's,
Yeah, it's so strange how the world can be on different times, different days, even all the different. Even in the United States itself, everybody, New York is 3 hours ahead of us, and it's just weird. It's a weird concept that you could be talking to somebody, and you can look outside and see that the sun is up and everything is shining, but if you're FaceTiming them, they can show you it's completely dark, and that's just weird to me.
I just feel like the sun is always shining over here, and it's always freaking hot, even in December. Like, Christmas could be one of the hottest days of the year. It's so unfair, but hey, it's California, right?
It is California. If you want some snow,
So,
you can, head up to Big Bear, and I'm sure that they could take care of that for you, man. But listen, first of all, it's good to have you on the show. I don't know if you know this, but you are the only person that I've ever done a 2-part episode with, and that was your first appearance on the RWT podcast.
oh, hey, I made history already. It's pretty cool.
And so we're glad to
Don't
have
want
you
to wear
back.
out my welcome.
Oh, yeah, definitely not, man. I mean, you're one of those guys that you have so many great opinions, and you're so interesting to talk to. I would love to talk to you anytime, and
seems like you have a lot on your mind after SummerSlam, man. So what did you think of the show?
You know, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. I feel like a lot of people can take one or two things about a show and just kind of paint the whole entire thing as, you know, terrible. I think they made some really bad decisions, especially when you're putting NXT TakeOver ahead of your main show and showing really what you can do with your talent and with your booking and everything like that. And you put on SummerSlam and you just kind of do the inverse of what you did the night before. It just feels like two different worlds living under the same umbrella. And the biggest example to me is that they had, you know, the Intercontinental Champion and, you know, the Hardy Boys, like, performing in the first 30 minutes of the kickoff show, like, in an empty arena. And, like, big casts and big shows like that stunk up the joint, you know, and that easily could have been a spot, you know, for a tag title match or something. You know, that match was way more exciting, and I feel like if it was on the main card, it would have made the show a little bit more, you know, interesting and gave it a little bit more of a better reputation, you know, because, I don't know, me personally, like, one of the reasons oh, Brooklyn. One of the reasons the crowd, like, you know, irked me was, you know, the whole beach ball thing too, but I am not a big Enzo fan at all, and, like, you know, what was up with that match? Like, he slid out the cage, he gets kicked in the face, because that's what he does, he gets kicked in the face every week, you know, and, like, Cass wins the match. Like, it was, you know, it didn't need to be there. It easily could have been on a kickoff show. I don't know, and I was mad because they were behind him in that match. They were like, doing the running man on the way up. Yeah, I'm glad he's on 205 Live. You know, I kind of stopped watching that show sadly, but you know, that's another thing. You know, just like the pacing of the matches, like the cruiserweights. You know, during the Classic, they have these incredible matches during the tournament. You know, just super fast paced. You know, just unbelievable. And, you know, they throw them on the Raw in like an 8-man tag match, and that's especially a match where you'll see a crowd like just chant, "This match sucks," or, you know, they'll start throwing beach balls around or doing whatever. I don't know. It's always, I always try to make it about like the wrestling, because I actually got interested with playing like the video games and like doing the moves and stuff like that. So like if I see like a really good match, like, and the build to it was like, yeah, whatever, but the match was okay, you know, that's all right with me. But there wasn't too much of that at SummerSlam, so I couldn't really give it a good, you know, rating.
You know, it's interesting because you kind of bring up like the way that the cruiserweights are being booked right now, and I hadn't had this thought until just now when you said that. But I feel like the cruiserweights are the new divas. Because see, like,
it sucks. We have a purple belt, kind of accessorizes.
Yeah, and it's nice and shiny, man. You know, and it glows. But just look at how they're booked. See, remember how like, and remember how with the divas, they weren't really a part of the show. They just kind of like, oh, right, we have women wrestlers. Let's just squeeze you in over here. But you could always tell that they were being told, all right, you have 30 seconds to walk out and you have 10 seconds to put on a match. Ready, set, go. And it would be like, let's have a 12 woman match. It's like every woman available, we're going to put you all in the same match because there's no substance here. We're not going to have individual women's matches. And most of the women are going to not even get to make an appearance on the show or on the pay-per-view. And that's how it feels like. Okay, so the women are making a little bit of a, they're getting a little bit of a push, and there was the women's revolution and stuff like that. But the cruiserweights, they're being treated the way that the women used to get treated.
Yeah, they just kind of get rushed out there. And feel like they're restricted. You know, a lot of the moves you saw in the Classic, you don't see anymore. I haven't really watched 205 lately. I know the guys out front, like Neville, is incredible for the division. I'm glad they, put him ahead and are giving him a good run. But during the Classic, you had guys like, Grand Metalik and Kota Ibushi doing these like insane, incredible matches, and now they just kind of have like, nothing matches over like really weird storylines. Like there was a while where I swear Brian Kendrick and Cedric were like stuck in a death feud for like 4 months about Alicia Fox, and it was silly. Like, come on. I don't know. There just wasn't anything behind it. But in NXT, you could just have a challenger come out there and be like, "Hey, I need a match at a pay-per-view." Someone else will, kind of speak out, get stuff out to him, be like, "Hey, you want a match? Like, I'm right here." Andrade and Gargano had like this crazy opening match, at the beginning of TakeOver. It was probably my favorite match of the weekend. Andrade's a really cool, wrestler, out of AAA and in Mexico. Really good competitor. Johnny Gargano, he had a really good run with his partner. It sucks that, Ciampa got injured. They put a really good match together, and it was really simple. They didn't need to, put a weird storyline behind it or anything like that. They just let the competitors go out there and have a good match. But
see, in that regard, NXT, they really remind me of New Japan wrestling in the sense that, or maybe it's because I don't speak Japanese, I'm not aware of the storyline, but I'll tell you, not being aware of the storylines doesn't affect the product at all for me when I watch like a New Japan show. I could see 2 wrestlers come out that I've literally never seen before. I don't know anything about. I don't know the story behind their feud, but the wrestling is so good. They come out, they tear it up. I don't need the drama. I don't need the backstory. I just wanted to see a good match, and I feel like New Japan puts on like every match on the card could be the main event because those guys work their asses off, and that's how it is with NXT as well. And so like when you say like it feels like 2 different worlds are existing under the same umbrella, it's insane. That's absolutely correct. And I just have to wonder, like, how is it possible that the same company that produces NXT, which is amazing, also produces Raw and SmackDown? I mean, how is it possible, man?
Is it different producers? Do we know that it's like 2 different people putting the shows together?
Well, yeah, it is. Each show has its own agents, producers, and so on and so forth. But here's the thing: you work in the same company. So if anybody could look, I used to work at Walmart, and there's 8 million different departments in Walmart: hardware, housewares, sporting goods, blah blah blah. If one department was doing something really good, like how they set up their displays or how they kept the merchandise ordered, it's not like the store would go, "Oh, look at sporting goods, man. They're killing it. Everybody else sucks." And then that's the end of the story. No, it would be like, "Hey, you guys see what they're doing over in sporting goods? All right, everybody gather around, watch how they work in sporting goods, and then I want you guys to all go do those same things in your department." So where is that? Where's the direction from Vince McMahon that says, "Hey, you SmackDown and Raw guys, you see what they're doing on NXT? Take notes and replicate those results on your shows as well," because we're all under the same umbrella. It's not like you're stealing an idea. You're just like, I want every show to be as good as NXT, and if you don't, then why?
I don't know. I think they just a lot of people watch out of habit. So even if one show goes bad the next week, we're gonna watch the next week to figure out, if they're gonna actually make that change to try to get a little better. But right when you think they're going to turn that corner, kind of, mistakes of the past kind of repeat themselves. But still have a lot of respect for what they're doing out there. I just wish they had better opportunities to kind of feel like they were doing more. Like this whole thing with my man Rusev maybe leaving, that's like upsetting. I don't like hearing that.
Yeah, the thing about Rusev, man, you know, he's been having this back and forth battle with the company for a while because he's one of those guys that dances to the beat of his own drum, but he doesn't. Listen, if you want to go against what the company says, like for real in real life, you have to be somebody. Rusev, he's not anybody yet. Like Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels and, you know, some of these guys dance to the beat of their own drum once they were mega superstars because they had that leeway, they had that leverage. It's like, I sell a bunch of merchandise, I put asses in the seats. 90% of these people in the arena tonight came to see me, so therefore I can afford to act an ass a little bit because if I leave, you guys lose. That's not the same with Rusev. He doesn't have quite the following of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't think he's selling a ton of merchandise. He has no chips. He has nothing in his favor, and yet he still tells them, well, I'm just going to cut my hair and do what I want to do, change my image. Yeah, I'm going to kind of do whatever I want, and I'm going to go on social media and complain about winning a title shot. And then when they don't respond, it's like, all right, fine. If you don't want to pay attention to me, then what I do here, I can just go do it somewhere else. But it's such an empty threat because, first of all, again, Rusev is not, I don't know. It's not like as if AJ Styles is saying something like this. Then my ears would perk up and go, hey, man, do something. Let's make this guy happy. We don't want him to leave. But Rusev is not, he's not putting on spectacular matches for a while now. And if he does leave and goes to the independents, I think most of the WWE universe will forget about him. I don't think a bunch of people are going to be like, oh, what? Rusev is in Ring of Honor? I must tune in and see what that's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's one time we're tearing apart the announcers table Monday Night Raw, and for some reason, it was when they had the League of Nations, and tore apart the announce table. Rusev grabbed one of the monitors out of the table and took it with him all the way to the ramp for some reason. I don't know, he just wanted to grab a TV and walk with it. And then he posted on Twitter, he was like, I am the TV champion. And it just, I was a fan after that because that was just so funny to me for some reason. I don't know. but I never felt like they gave him the opportunity to kind of be what he could have been. And
so what you were saying about Bayley, it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Okay, Bayley, I don't have any problems with Bayley. I just think that I think with her story, they got stuck. I mean, she's the underdog, and I get it. And she comes out and she gives hugs. That's fine. I think her finish move is terrible. It's a good move, but it's not meant to be a finisher. But that's besides the point. I like Bayley. It's just that at a certain point, you have to progress her character because, you did it. You achieved it. You wanted us to feel bad for the underdog. You wanted us to feel sympathy because she's the ultimate babyface. It's like she grew up a wrestling fan and she grew up idolizing. We all get that. But now that you have us, now that we all, our heart, goes out to the babyface and we're completely feeling bad for her, let's move on from that. We can't go, hey, remember Bayley? Let's feel bad for her some more. And then next week, hey, we're still feeling bad for Bayley, because at a certain point, people are going to go, oh, Jesus Christ, stop all that whining and just... It becomes annoying to the fans at a certain point. And yeah, you're right, man. Now she's getting booed and it's crazy.
She was like, oh my God, what did she say? She said that she was not proud of winning the title or something, that she didn't want to win the title that way. They're trying to do the ultimate babyface thing where she I think she got help from Sasha in the match where she actually won the championship, so she was kind of reluctant to accept it and be like, oh, well, I kind of didn't do it on my own. No, be proud, you're the champion, you're supposed to beat people up, get mean. I think that's why remember seeing a video package on Reigns, and there's like a lot of grown men who said like, men our age, like we don't like Roman Reigns, you know, he's like for the kids and stuff like that. And I think that's like maybe that type of category that they would put Bayley in. But I don't think that way either. There are men in capes in this particular video, and Roman Reigns just, you know, why would he care about people like that on the internet, you know, kind of talking down to him? You know, Bayley shouldn't do the same thing either, but, you know, when she was in the ring and she got booed, like, you could see on her face, dude, that she just was like, wow, like, that sucks. Like, she said something in her promo, she's like, I'm not talking to the people who are booing me right now, like, I'm talking to, like, my fans who, like, sent me messages on Twitter, and the boos got heavier, dude. That it was just, I never thought I'd see that happen, but...
Well, you know what happens?
Hey, yes.
Okay, so people... Yes, wrestlers play heels, and they play baby faces, but there are some people who can do in either one of those, and they're going to be just fine. But there are some people, some performers, that who their character is so closely portrayed to who they are in real life. So when they're forced to do the opposite thing, it's hurtful to them. And so, like, for instance, Naomi talked about this recently on Jericho's podcast, where she was like, yeah, for a time I was a heel. She was like, and it was the most difficult thing I ever did because I'm really a nice person. Like, so she's not an actress. I mean, she doesn't know how. She can't just turn on the hate, you know. And it was kind of like she hated doing that, you know. And Jericho was like, yeah, you know, because there are some people who are great at being a heel because they're an asshole in real life. And so I look at somebody like Bayley, and you think about how much this whole thing means to her, capturing the women's championship and everything she's accomplished after being a lifelong fan of the business. And then I can imagine that, yeah, it probably really does hurt her feelings, like legit, that people would boo her, that somebody would say something terrible to her. But, you know, it's kind of weird, though, that she takes that position because this is the business. Like, okay, so at some point, like right now, when the boos get to their apex, it's like an insane amount of boos, that would be the perfect time to just let her turn heel. And I think that if they say to Bayley, we want you to be a heel, because she's been talking about it a lot lately, like for Naomi, it'll probably be a very difficult thing for her because, you know, in her mind, she won't equate it to just acting. It'll be like, but I don't want to disrespect people, and I don't want to let the kids down, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you're just playing a part. It's just a gimmick, and even the young fans who don't initially understand, at a certain point, will grow up and understand. So just play your part, man. You know.
Yeah, it would be really creepy if I remember Goldust did a promo and he said that he's looking for like a next starlet or something. It'd be really creepy if he like turned Bayley against his weird like assistant sort of escort to the ring sort of thing. That'd be really creepy, and I think that if they did it, you know, correctly, it would kind of like freak people out, and it would kind of get people like to be concerned, like how did Goldust like get into like Bayley's mind, like how did he, you know, persuade her, you know, to follow him, like, you know, how did he manipulate her? You know, that's something that I think could be, you know, an interesting storyline to kind of turn her and make it, you know, kind of sadistic and cynical. Because, for God's sake, back in the Attitude Era, they had Undertaker crucifixing dudes. Like, just, you know, I think they're trying to, you know, get some people to kind of really take a second look at what they're doing and kind of be interested and perhaps even mortified for entertainment. You know, why not? Like, it's professional wrestling. Like, I think that's a bizarre idea that could strangely work. Just putting that out there, WWE.
I think it would work too. And so I don't know. I think you're a young guy. I don't know if you remember, but so when Goldust was, you know, at the height of his popularity, he did have a manager named Marlena who would escort him to the ring, and she wrestled a little bit, not too much, but it it definitely enhanced his character to have that female sidekick to play off of. And do I think Bayley could do it? Here's what I think. I think because, myself included, because nobody else probably beyond you could actually imagine her in the role. That's why it's the right thing to do. Because I would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I can creep people out. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it would, even though Bayley's kind of like on the down, like her stock is going down, but I still think that she's on a different level right now than Goldust, for example, because Goldust is like a lower level, it's the end of his career. And I mean, he's got that great, I mean, he went back to his old school self, which is great. The vignettes and the promos are fantastic, but now the wrestling is terrible. Before, he wasn't doing those awesome vignettes. He wasn't cutting awesome promos, but the wrestling was solid at least. So it's kind of like, I don't know what the message is here. You have to have one or the other. You can't have both. But my whole deal is, if you're going to put all that time into vignettes and promos, let them come out and put on a good match too, so that the fan cares about the whole experience.
Yeah, I really wanted to see him, I thought he was going to get another run with like the IC title or something, or it was really going to go somewhere. And, it kind of just hasn't really progressed further than a few matches with R-Truth. I always was a fan of Goldust, so, maybe someone with a high profile like Bayley, if she was put with him, would help them both out. He would, be able to give her, some knowledge, and, she was such a big fan of Dusty Rhodes, and, who better to help her, and in a time like this where she's, injured, and, she can come back and work with someone who can give her, some good knowledge, someone who she may have that, connection with because she was so close to his father. I think that could be good for her to pair her with someone like him, so, it's, if she is a fan, and wanted to do this her whole life, she has to understand that, like, you can't just be one thing your entire career and expect it to work forever. Let's try something new. So, I'm sure a lot of these wrestlers don't want to like play these characters and have people call them corny or not even care about them because they're like restricted or just painted as one thing. But a lot of these dudes get a bad rep just because they're doing their jobs, and it sucks. But of course, they probably want more themselves. But we're fans. We gotta understand, just like they gotta understand as wrestlers, that.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So I know earlier you said
there's people who are in control that don't really know what's going on.
Earlier you said something about when we were talking about the Rusev stuff, and you mentioned that there's a lack of respect basically going on right now, and it made me think of the fact that when I first had you on the RWT podcast, one of the big topics that we had back then was the fact that you were not happy with the way that the crowd was treating the wrestlers at that time. And now something like that has come back around full circle with that Brooklyn crowd and the beach ball incident, man. Like, how did you feel about that whole thing?
It was just like, I don't know. Going back to the cruiserweight match, before they brought the beach ball out, they were saying like that the match sucked, and the match only sucked to them because they weren't like paying attention to it. They just, I think, once the WWE starts to like give them credit for being raucous and loud and stuff like that, they're gonna want to imitate like the crowds that are there after WrestleMania. And, they want to hear themselves on TV. They want to, like, hear themselves talk and chant, and it's fun. And, there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. But when it takes away from people who actually want to see, like, the wrestling, and just pay attention to what's going on, It sucks. I don't know if you saw that Cena went out after, Raw was done, and, gave the crowd credit and, was talking down on the security guards for, like, taking away the beach balls and stuff. When you send a message like that, and then the next day you ban beach balls, from all live events, it sends like a mixed message. Like, do you like when the crowds do this, or do you not, want them to distract from what's going on in the ring? And I think the fact that they give such a convoluted message, like they're going to go crazy and they're going to want to hear themselves, and that's just people. People want to, be out there and be loud and be seen and be noticed, and that takes away from the talent. Sometimes it sucks, but it's going to happen. And I just feel like each year or something, there's like a new thing that happens and catches on, and everyone's going to want to imitate that crowd and do it. So it's all about the wrestling for me, man. Like, I don't care to be like someone who wants to hijack the show. I just got to try to watch it and respect it. But it is all about having fun. I don't want them to just sit on their hands. Like, yeah, sure, make some noise. Like, that's what it's all about. But at a certain point, you got to just kind of look at yourself and like think about, if you were in there, would you want someone like throwing a beach ball around and not even caring that you might jump off the top rope and break your necks, and then in the next series of moves, but I don't know, it's nothing I can really get upset about. It's expected.
It's a good thought, though. Okay. I'm a guy, so I make music, and I take music making very seriously. And so occasionally, I'll make some music, and then I'll say, I think to myself, I want to share this song with some people. And so every so often when I make a song, I'll select a few people to pull aside individually and like, hey, I made a song. Would you listen to it and just let me know what you think? And they're like, yeah, sure. Everybody's always so open to it. But then I hate like when I'm showing somebody a song, because I want them to listen to the lyrics. Like, it's so important to me for them to just take in this product that I've poured my heart into. And then somebody comes up and is like, hey, such and such, like, don't talk to them right now. Don't distract them. I want them to focus all of their attention on this thing that I've done. And anytime, like, if the person listening goes, oh yeah, this beat reminds me of, for me, every word coming out of your mouth means you're not listening to, you're going to miss something important in the song. And so I just got to a point where I had to stop trying to show people things, or like telling people, hey, there's this really good movie I want you to watch with me. And then while we're watching the movie, the person's completely doing something else. They're answering phone calls. They're doing all these things. And then I'm sitting there losing my mind inside, because I'm like, you're missing all the good parts because you're not really paying attention. So,
oh yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, can we just sit down for 2 seconds and just focus on this? Because it's something that means so much to me, and I want you to feel the same way I feel about it. But how could you, if you're so distracted and you're not really paying attention? And that's probably how, when you see Cesaro leave the match and go up into the crowd, I didn't know what was happening. I was like,
ridiculous.
I was like, what? I was like, is somebody coming out? Is there going to be a big return or a big debut? And then, no, he goes in the crowd, grabs the ball, and just destroys it. And I wasn't even mad at him. I was like, yeah, well, that's what those guys get,
Yeah, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. That was pretty funny. But, yeah, I think they had about 20 more that came out afterwards anyway. But, I think it's just, certain crowds after certain events, hopefully we won't see too much more of that going forward. But, it is what it is.
So what do you think the state of the WWE, first of all, WWE, is that the bulk of the wrestling that you watch in the first place?
Yeah, I, it's mainly just the weekly shows. I'm trying to catch up on Lucha Underground right now. I'm still like in the freaking, there's like dozens of episodes, so I'm like in the first season still, I think. I don't really watch GFW. Never watched any of the New Japan religiously. Just watched like a few of the big matches here and there. But yeah, that's really it.
So where are you at with, so as a fan right now, where are you at with WWE as a product? Are you like, okay, like for instance, for myself, I don't know. I feel like so much of it is good, but so much of it is bad. But I can tell you with certainty, it wouldn't matter if it was all total total garbage. I'm locked in regardless. I'm gonna watch regardless. But like, where are you at with the product right now?
Yeah, just about there. Just about there. You know, I really enjoy watching. You know, at the end of the day, I like going to the shows when I can. You know, I'll always check in, or I'll always wish them the best. You know, I want them to have more viewers, and I want kids. You know, I want like parents to take their kids to shows and get like kids into wrestling, so the kids can grow up to be fans, just like how we grew up to be fans, and they can. I want to pass it along, but I want them to actually make it interesting and make it worthwhile for other people to like actually be able to get into. Like when I'd rather show someone NXT, when I'm like wanting them to get into the product, rather than like showing them, in the pay-per-view like SummerSlam. I really don't know what's changed. The first WrestleMania I ever watched was WrestleMania 19, and some of the matches on there were HBK versus Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, just like the main event. And like it just felt like everyone was like big on that show. Like they had like something behind their name, like in the other matches too. Like I think I don't know if that was when Vince McMahon fought Hulk Hogan. I'm not sure if that was at WrestleMania. And then it was Stone Cold versus The Rock for the last time. Just a lot of like steam behind these names, and I think a lot of the overexposure, just having the same people on TV every week, and the match outcomes. When someone just trades victory, and there's not really like a clean, consistent like storyline. You don't really care about who's winning the matches or what's going on in the matches, because there's no like big implications behind the victory. And I think that's where you lose like fans. But we have to, as like hardcore fans, kind of suspend our belief in what's going on, and just kind of roll with it, because we do want to see what's going to happen next, because we are hooked. I don't think I've missed a Raw, like I don't know in how many like months. I've stopped watching 205 Live because it's not good. But as far as everything else, I'm hooked. I just want them to do better so other people can stay interested.
So, well then, speaking of the booking that you brought up, I know when you and I were talking before, we were messaging back and forth, and you kind of alluded to the fact that you like the way that NXT stars are booked, because you might see, let's say, Bobby Roode is the champion, or he was champion up until SummerSlam. Just because he's the champion doesn't mean you're going to see him on every NXT show. Like you see the talent for a show, and then a couple of shows happen, you don't see them, but then by that third go around, they come back. And I think I remember you saying that that's the way it should be to avoid that overexposure, right?
Yeah, I think so. Jinder is wrestling every week, as a champion, and he's getting beat, maybe, 1 out of 4 times, or, maybe more or less than that. But, Bobby didn't really wrestle too many television matches on NXT. I don't know what they're going to do with him now. Maybe I think he has a few last dates, in NXT before he's like full time on the main roster. But he didn't really do everything, every week. And Aleister Black, I don't know if you follow that guy.
He's
but,
fantastic. That guy is insane. That kick, the black mask. Oh my goodness, brother.
It's killer. I love it, dude. But you didn't see it every week. Like he maybe had a match every other week, and then he had a match on the Takeover show. Against Tommy, and that was a nice build just to hard hitting dudes. And it wasn't about anything except for just them competing against each other. There was no convoluted storyline. It was just about competition. Just how is that so hard to just I think that's just what people want to see. The fight last night, people just wanted to see these two dudes just compete and go head to head and see what they can do with their bodies. And that's what it's about. And NXT, they just kind of, that's what they center on. And then they don't put these guys out there every week, fighting the same matches, because by the time these guys get to the pay-per-view, they've already had 3 or 4 matches on television somehow, whether it's in a mixed tag or some sort of combination. They're, I don't know, it's just cycle it out, just keep them away, just let it breathe.
That's your mentality for booking is it existed at a point. And I'll give you an example. Triple H had a program with Batista when Evolution first broke up, and the climax of the program was where Batista was going to take the belt off of Triple H. But one of the smartest things that happened, Triple H he didn't have any creative control back then in any official capacity, but based on where he was as a talent, they did listen to his input, and he was very adamant about the fact. He said to Vince, he said, listen, we're 2 months or something out, whatever it is, from WrestleMania, and I'm going to be, dropping the belt to Batista, but it's very important. Before WrestleMania happens, you can't let us touch each other. I mean, we can have some confrontations verbally. We can have some, it almost looked like there was going to be a run-in. It almost looked like it was going to come to blows. But if you want this thing to go over the way it's supposed to, the first time that we actually get physical with each other has got to be in the ring at WrestleMania. And that's the way to do it. You're right, man, because let's say, I don't know, there's Enzo Amore versus Big Cass, which is the worst. I always feel like tag teams breaking up and then always having to face each other after the breakup is the stupidest thing. But here's the thing.
Why does Vince McMahon hate tag teams so much?
I know, man. I don't know why. But then what's worse than that is you make them fight each other on Monday Night Raw, and then again on Monday Night Raw, and again and again and again, and the matches aren't even good to begin with. And then you go, now we're gonna have a pay-per-view match. So they have a match on pay-per-view, and it's also trash. It's just as bad as every other match that happened on those Monday Night Raws. And then you think, okay, thank God, a pay-per-view has happened. The rivalry should be done at this point because the same guy won every time. No, it's not over. Let's have yet another fight for no reason the next night on Monday Night Raw. And now this big man who's meant to get this big push, unfortunately, gets a big injury. And it's up because it's overkill.
I'd be so mad.
We didn't need another match from Enzo Amore and Big Cass, but you pushed it, and now Big Cass is on the shelf for, a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. That they just would have maybe, put him, in a new program. Just maybe didn't even, give him the night off. Let someone else who wasn't on TV last week have a match.
Yeah, because you had the pay-per-view match, and then it wasn't like Enzo Amore won. Big Cass won undeniably. So that's supposed to be the end of the program. We get it. Big Cass is Big Cass. Enzo Amore can't wrestle. Cool. They should be done with each other at that point. It should be like, Enzo Amore, no, I've already shut him up. I'm moving on to my next thing. But they don't. They have to drag things out. And so if you look at it, the booking, and this is what makes you, Brian, this is what makes you a genius for being able to recognize this. You look at the way Brock Lesnar is booked, and it's like, nobody ever gets to see Brock Lesnar. It's not enough. And then you mention how Jinder Mahal is booked, where it's like, every week, and it's like, well, that's a little bit too much. So where's the sweet spot? Well, the sweet spot is Bobby Roode, where it's like, you saw him. It wasn't every week, but also he wasn't gone for weeks at a time. So when you did see him, you still cared, and it all still made sense. And that's how it should all be booked, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, man. Just, keep, I feel like AJ Styles and his U.S. title, picture that's kind of taken over, as the main title, on SmackDown. And I don't even think he's having, matches every week. This past few they had, maybe every other week he had a match, or, maybe 2 weeks in a row and the next week off. But, he'd come out and talk to the people or interact with his opponent, but they didn't, have a match every week, by the time they got to the pay-per-view, though, that they did have, 5 or 6 matches, but they did a good job at, with the storyline with Shane, making it, fresh and keeping it, interesting until the pay-per-view, so they actually gave you a reason to, care about, a 5th or 6th match. And then, I don't even remember what the blow-off was on that. Did they finish that on SmackDown? Did they have another match after, their SummerSlam match?
Yeah, they did. There was one more, right?
Yeah, I think on the most recent SmackDown.
Yeah, they had another when Baron Corbin came out.
Baron, that's right. He was the ref.
Even
weird.
that's another example where it's like, it's over. Why are we doing this yet again? It's too much. It gets to be too much. Don't you know when the story ends? The video game knows, right? Am I right, Brian? The video game knows.
Yeah.
The rivalries conclude at the pay-per-view. We don't keep going because it's like, okay, they had the one more match on Raw, and then they're not going to do anything beyond that. It was over at the pay-per-view. That's well. Anyways, man. So as we're winding down here, man, as we're getting ready to close out the show, I just gotta know. The next major pay-per-view is going to be Survivor Series, and then after that, Royal Rumble, which equates to WrestleMania season. In your opinion, what does the WWE have to do here to kind of finish out their year strong? What has to happen to make things interesting again?
Oh, man. I think there's a lot of things that people are expecting, this run that Braun is having. I think they have to, put the title on that guy. Just there was a time where he would come on TV and just yell, "I'm not finished with you," and it would make me so happy. And you just hear the crowd pop. And I think they need to just go ahead for it with people like that, new fresh things that people are actually consistently being vocal about being interested in. I think that would be a good fresh thing to do. I think if he moved forward with Brock, did a program with him, maybe drop the title to him at No Mercy, maybe they would take the gamble on a smaller show and build him to, perhaps lose to, I don't know, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I don't know. Whatever they do, they just need to, keep it interesting. I can't even tell you who the 2 folks fighting for the Universal title would be at WrestleMania. I really hope it's not, something they've done before. But I remember when there was a great build, Batista's run towards, the title at WrestleMania. The first time John Cena won the title at WrestleMania, these superstars back then had their first time, big world championship victories at WrestleMania, and I don't think they have moments like that anymore because it's the same people in the main event 3 years in a row. What happened to the times where you thought that anyone who was in the Royal Rumble could win? I feel like there's an argument that Cesaro should win the Royal Rumble and go to WrestleMania and have a match and win the title. Why can't it be someone like him and the main event, or shoot someone else? I don't know. I feel like there was that believability that anyone could be in the main event and get a shot. But now you only can really just pencil in 2 or 3 or 4 guys because you know that's who they want to go with. So I think they really just need to take a different path, do something different, go back to, times like that when you made a John Cena at WrestleMania, or you made, Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania when he won the title from Kurt. Then, they need to build towards just moments like that with new people, because just like the Miz said in his promo, that was a little bit of truth to that. A lot of these guys, they need moments like that. People want to see these guys get these moments, not the same folks every year. So I think that's what they need to avoid.
Well, there you have it, man. I want to thank you so much. That's an opinion that makes a lot of sense. Things do need to be ever changing, ever evolving, and you're right. It's got to come back to a time where you believe that anybody could be the next guy to go over. And currently, it has been the same, main events over and over again, and this year will be no different. I mean, everything that I've read so far suggests that beyond a shadow of a doubt, the main event at WrestleMania will be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, with Brock dropping the belt to Reigns to give Reigns yet another WrestleMania main event match that ends with him winning the championship. Because the last 2 or 3 that happened that way, just quite.
That'll be the 4th year in a row.
Yeah, it just they just weren't enough to help his career get over. And so Vince McMahon goes, oh, well, you know what? I know what'll work then. Let's do it for the 4th time. So it's interesting, man. But listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. I know it's early, and you are a hard-working man. You're in school, and you got your job, and you're all over the place. The fact that you would give me some of your time this morning means a lot to me, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, no, thanks for having me. I hope I didn't, talk too much. The commute home from work is actually 2.5 hours from Huntington Beach to Whittier because my engine blew out of my Fiat. So, my days are a little bit longer. But, working on getting, back on my feet, getting transferred to this Cal State, getting this degree, still always going to be watching wrestling along the way, though. But, hey, it was nice to come on and chat for a little bit. So thanks for your time as well, man.
Excellent, man. We definitely look forward to having you back, man, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was my interview with Brian Green, and I definitely hope that you enjoyed that. Brian has a lot of wrestling knowledge. He is very passionate about the product, and I think he just needs to be heard, man. He wants to get his opinions out and stuff like that, but like me, he has an undying loyalty to the WWE, and I think that's one of those things, man, that the company is probably able to capitalize on. That's probably one of the reasons why they don't have to push themselves really that hard, because they know no matter what they put out, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, we will watch. We will tune in, because that's what happens when you love something. But anyways, yeah, pretty good show today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure when you get a chance, you go on to YouTube. Go on to WWE Biza. That's WWEBEZA. And check out what Mike Ibiza is doing there, man. I've done a lot of great work with him lately. That's some SummerSlam predictions and another video that we made afterward with our SummerSlam reactions, where we just kind of went over every match and said, what we thought and looked at our predictions individually versus what the game predicted would happen during those simulations. So if you have a chance, make sure you click on to Mike Ibiza's page on YouTube. That's WWE Biza. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out those videos, like them, and comment and let Mike know what you're thinking. Also, Social Media Uncut, man. Go check out that page on Facebook. One of our RWT members, Jonathan, does Social Media Uncut. He writes articles about WWE and a slew of other things, and we're trying to get that page off the ground right now, so make sure you check that out. That's Social Media Uncut over on Facebook.com. Yeah, man. So one final reminder for you guys. September 1st, that top 10 contributors list is going to come out. And it's going to get interesting to see who's been devoting most of their time, efforts, and resources to the RWT page. I've enjoyed spending time with you this weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in, for supporting the show, and supporting the page. I'm Emir Blackbane Costello, and for Mr. Brian Green, this has been the RWT Podcast. I will catch you down the road.